So welcome back, and this is the second part of mine and Tobias' conversation about Batman 1989. If you missed the first part, I will link it in the comment section, so enjoy. So we're back with Bruce and Vicky, and she wants them to hang out for the day. He tries to get out of it because...
it's the day that his parents got killed. How many years, we don't know, but it's his yearly pilgrimage to...
Yes. Yeah.
The site where Bat was born. He does that in the comics as well, that on the day he goes back just to reaffirm his goals.
But Alfred hasn't really gotten the information that Bruce is trying to get out of meeting her, because they meet in the staircase and she's like, well, I see you when you get back. And he throws Bruce under the bus, essentially.
Back? We're not going anywhere, miss. Yeah.
So then we have a short scene where Alicia enters. In the first draft, she enters her own apartment, and the Joker is there waiting, and essentially it's the same scene. And he's actually having, in the screenplay as well, a martini.
It doesn't look very Bondian in it, but
No,
it's fun that he's drinking them.
Yeah, exactly.
He's drinking a martini.
Yeah.
Honey, you won't believe the day I've had.
Yeah, yeah. And so then we cut to the boardroom meeting.
Funny thing, the guy on the left with the mustache and the Einstein here is a librarian.
You're totally right. Absolutely. I never noticed that, but
I got a kick and a laugh out of that. But
in the first draft, sort of the Joker taking out the competition was a much bigger deal in the first draft than what we get in the movie. Essentially what we have here is we have one of the gangsters, his name is Tony, and he doesn't want to be a part of it, and that's when the Joker of course brings out his electrocution ring or something.
Yeah, and it's a nice, I don't know if it's a homage, but it kind of rhymes with, not to make this a Bond discussion every time, but it's kind of the goal thing of you to a kill thing. One that doesn't want to join in, so he gets executed in front of the others.
I remember when I watched the movie for the first time, and this was one of the scenes I most looked forward to seeing, because I had seen, I think maybe I had read the book beforehand, because I know the scene was coming, and I was like, oh my god, I can't wait to see the electrocution scene. I don't know what that says about me as a person, but I really sort of looked forward to that. So, yeah.
It kind of goes back to what I said earlier. Kids like to be scared, and you kind of expect that, this is going to be scary to see on film, because up here it's so scary to read. In the original script, he just talks to himself that, nah, I'm going to kill them anyway. Yeah. But in the final movie, it makes it like he's talking to the charred corpse that, I'm glad, oh, you think so? You're an evil one. I'm glad you're dead.
In the first screenplay, it took up much more time taking out the boss as sort of like in almost a Godfather kind of a way. And I guess there is a sort of a nod to the Godfather, because one of the bosses looks kind of a lot like Don Corleone.
You also get a little montage. You get 2 kills, and we go to the date between Vicky and Bruce that's in the script, but has become her stalking him.
One of the mobsters, Vinny, is going to have a press conference or something, or the press is, for whatever reason, gathered, because Vinny has got them some sort of affidavit that he's going to take over Grissom's organization.
It's unclear on the time frame the movie takes place, but because this feels like they're there because Grissom hasn't been seen for a while.
Yeah.
Like, that may be what makes the press curious about it. And why Knox is there. Knox is being followed by Bob the Goon here. They come down the stairs, they interview, and the mimes show up here.
Yes.
While in the first draft, the mimes are there as an ambush.
Yeah.
And Bruce and Vicky are there simply on a date. In the final script, he sees the Joker and realizes, how can Jack still be alive? Because he recognizes him as Jack Napier immediately. While in the other one, he's trying to get the interaction. Yeah. But there's too many people around. And that triggers his PTSD. I reread it because we had 2 different interpretations before, but now I get it. It triggers his PTSD because he feels helpless.
Yeah.
And he has a panic attack.
Yes, yeah. So in the first draft, he has sort of like As you said, he has some sort of nervous breakdown almost. It's like when he's in the bat suit, he's fine, but now he's just bruised. So he almost sort of not collapses, but he sort of hides in an alleyway, and he managed to save Vicky from the gunfire. But he's really almost catatonic, and I thought that was kind of an interesting take on everything. It doesn't really come across at all in the final movie. But that's one of the interesting little nuances that the first draft did differently than the final film. Yeah, we cut to a television set, and the press all over the mayor, and then we have the boxing glove hitting the TV, and I always thought it was kind of funny because Harvey Dent, he gets this little Billy D. Williams play. I don't know if this was planned, but he sort of looks for a tiny fraction of a second scared before the boxing glove hits the screen. And I always thought, oh, did he realize there was a boxing glove coming? I don't know.
I think it's a happy accident in the edit.
Yeah, it probably
and timing
is.
of it all.
Yeah.
But...
And then we're back with Bruce and Alfred. You do get a sense that Alfred is trying to coax Bruce out of being Batman.
Yeah, there's always been that underlying tone of regret to see Bruce turn into this vigilante, that he always tried to bring him back into a normal life, a normal world.
Yeah.
Because in the end, he doesn't want to see this little boy that he has become a foster father to die in the line of action.
Yeah. Joker's new hideout now is not Carl Grissom's old den, but it's actually Axis Chemicals, somewhere in the basement, I would assume.
Yeah, he's sitting there making little cutouts.
But there is
he's not so aware of Vicky in the Sam Hamm draft. Here he starts to fall in love with her immediately seeing that picture. Ooh la la.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, this love triangle is added to the shooting script compared to the other script where it's Knox that's rival's Bruce over her.
Yeah. And then we're at the TV station. And this is of course where we get the Joker commercial. In the first draft, the toxin or the poison was called Smilenol. Not Smilex, but I suspect it was maybe some sort of rights issue because Tylenol probably didn't want to be associated with a nerve toxin that makes you laugh until you die.
What I find interesting about the Sam Hamm script, those two models that they're talking about having died in that newscast. There's a scene where Vicky witness how to get poisoned and die.
Yeah.
Which is quite horrific. A much more effective, I believe, way to show how this neurotoxin works. Because you see it in a more disturbing manner. It's more comedical in the newsroom.
Yeah.
But I think they cut it out of repetition, but...
Well, essentially he warns people. I mean, one would think if he wanted a lot of people dead, that he shouldn't have said anything. That would have been more effective of a plan, maybe.
I think this has a bit to do with the kind of muddle the details of the original plan Sam Hamm brought up. Because you do get more the idea that he wants to bring chaos and anarchy to the streets of Gotham. A bit like Heath Ledger's Joker does in The Dark Knight. So he wants people to know so they freak out.
Yeah.
Because they don't know which ingredients combined with which it is. You can't simply say that it's the toothpaste, because in the end it turns out, well, it's the toothpaste with that hairspray, and that deodorant might be the combination that kills you. But in the script, they're up in like the 700s.
Yeah, you're right. There's a lot more death going on in Gotham in the first draft. But here is sort of a couple of people, I guess. So we have the commercial, and Bruce turns out to also be watching at the time, and the Joker has already created his own like logo and everything.
You know, don't knock it down a good PR team.
One wonders also, I mean, you shouldn't think too hard about these things, but did he give all his goons like mime classes when he turned into the Joker? Or did he just hire a couple of mimes and turn them criminal? Because Bob the Goon is not a mime, but there's suddenly a whole lot of clowns in his posse.
You know, I think the unemployment rate for mimes in Gotham is pretty high.
Yeah, so they were probably maybe out of work and gotten slightly psychotic already. So he was like, "Hey, do you want a job?" We cut to the Flugenheim museum, and Vicky arrives, of course, and waits and waits. I don't know if this gas is supposed to be lethal or if it's just sleeping gas, because I don't think this is Smilex gas.
No, they don't have those like grins after they
people
fall down,
just pass out.
But then again, I think it's deadly because you don't get that with the balloons later on either.
Yeah.
So I think he just straight out kills them. It's more menacing if he does, but...
Yeah. And now, of course, the Joker and his goons enter, and maybe we should discuss your hot take in all this, because this is the first time that we hear a Prince song.
Yeah, might be a hot take. I don't think it fits. When you get that instrumental parts in the earlier scenes, you do have a little poppy song at the gala at the Wayne Manor. You do have the boombox in the first scene, but it takes at least me out of the movie because it feels like it doesn't belong.
Right.
You have this retro vibe of the whole city, but suddenly this soundtrack selling pop song pops in.
Yeah.
And it doesn't even fit the Joker's character, really, with the whole chaotic anarchy it brings in. Because it feels too clean. So it doesn't belong to the scene, it doesn't belong to the tone of the movie, it just feels intrusive, in my opinion.
Interesting. But I see your point. It never, sort of bothered me a whole lot. But no, Prince was, of course, a huge part of the marketing. And I remember seeing on MTV, because back then we had MTV, like the Bat Dance and everything, which was almost like a free trailer, essentially. So he did his thing in marketing the movie as well.
It is not contrasting enough for it to be funny. It's not anarchic enough to be in line with what's happening, because he is there destroying quite famous artwork. Degas, we got Monet. And it's just like, if you want to do it too much, you're gonna go, I'm so excited with the points. This sounds rolling out of my tongue like a too extreme an example, but that kind of energy is needed.
Yeah.
Or something more in line with Sex Pistols. But Prince, nah, it just doesn't feel right to me.
Oh, interesting. There's a couple of details that I just find funny, and it's always been sort of a little question mark for me when Joker takes out he gets the brush. One of the goons hands him a brush, and he writes Joker was here. The color on the brush has always puzzled me because it lasts for so long. I've always been like, if you wrote that many words, you would need to dip the brush in paint once more. I always wondered if he had some sort of contraption sort of leading up with maybe paint or something, because the paint smears perfectly all the way through. It's just one of those little things I always wondered about.
Movie magic. I do think that the prop team just has more paint in the handle, like a fountain pen sort of situation.
There is one painting that the Joker spares, which is an actual painting called Figure with Meat by Francis Bacon. And we should maybe add in the first draft, it was actually Edvard Munch's The Scream.
I think it's just because it's a bit more macabre.
Yeah, probably.
This one they used in the final edit.
Yeah, absolutely.
But also what I find interesting here in his courting with Vicky, here he's already smitten with her. But in the Sam Hamm script, it's more like he's interested in her work because he's seen her war photo before, and his whole goal with kidnapping her is that she's going to document the chaos he brings later. Here's more of a romance angle in the final script.
Alicia enters, of course, and he asks her to remove the mask. And in the novelization, it's quite horrific how it's described what's happened to her, but she almost, I guess, looks like Two-Face in a sense. There's a lot of skin missing, and one can see the bone and everything, but they sort of toned it down a little bit, or maybe a lot, in the finished film. She still looks disfigured, but it's more child friendly, I guess, if you want to say
chemical
that.
burns.
Yeah.
It's damaged skin.
She asks him, what do you want? And he says his face on the $1 bill, which is something that potentially could have had a payoff later, when he spreads the money during the celebrations. And supposedly there is a version where it turns out that these bills are actually $1 bills with his face on them. I don't know if that they ever shot that.
Yeah, I think there are production stills or short clip where Knox discovers that it's Joker dollars. But what I was going to bring up is, here is what we see the Vicky Vale character kind of pivot down to the screaming damsel in distress. She does do some capable things later on in the movie, but she's more active in the actual script.
Yeah.
She stands up to the Joker, talks down to him, criticizes his way of doing things, and challenges him. He baits her to throw the water at him to reveal that it's makeup. While here it's just him goofing around before Batman shows up.
And then we have, I guess, what became a little bit of a trope in these 4 Batman movies, 1 through 4, with Batman coming in through the skylight. No.
Yep. Batman doesn't like windows on the roof. Dramatic entrance.
Yeah, for sure. And you can sort of see the lines a little bit when he comes down, although I guess that could
I think you're supposed to see the line.
Probably.
I think you're supposed to see it because he does detach it.
Oh, you're right. You're right, actually. You're right.
He does detach it and get ready with the line launcher so you can glide away.
Yeah. So
I think we're meant to see it.
Yeah. So then he uses something that is referred to as the gauntlet. At least that's what the production team called it, because it's not the grappling hook, because this one connects on 2 different walls, and then he sort of takes Vicky and they fly off. And just a little detail in and you see this in the film as well, when they sort of bust through the doors, he turns around and he does like a throwing motion. And I always assumed that he was just maybe retrieving the rope or something, but he actually throws a smoke pellet in the screenplay. You can sort of hear it on the soundtrack in the movie that something is crashing, but you never actually see the smoke billowing out.
Yeah, they do cut to another one of those trailer lines. Where does he get all those wonderful toys?
Yes, and in the first draft, he turns to the goons and, well, what are you standing there for? Go and ask him. But then we see the Batmobile, which is in the screenplay referred to as, well, you have to imagine it yourself, but it looks awesome, essentially. So is this your favorite Batmobile?
Absolutely. It's iconic.
Yeah.
It doesn't overdo the Bat theme, but it gets a Bat aesthetic, but it's not too much, and it doesn't pivot into the other direction like the modern movies have, where the Dark Knight or the DC Snyder universe, where it's a big battle tank.
Yeah.
It's sleek, it's sexy, gets the job done, and it looks gorgeous.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. It's kind of a shame that they chose to modify it for Batman Forever and Batman and Robin, because it sort of looked, I guess it didn't quite fit into the aesthetic of those movies, but no, it looks great, and supposedly it could drive quite fast, but you don't really get the sense of that in this car chase, which is also very limited. I think I read somewhere that whenever they hit about like 40 miles an hour, they were basically at the end of the set, so they couldn't go very fast, because then they ran out of street.
The small hiccup of doing a confined set on Pinewood and not like the other movies, a real city, is that, we're gonna ride out of set soon.
So the Batmobile is blocked by, I think they come across a construction site or something, so they have to head out of the car, and Batman uses these shields, which I believe they are animated on. It looks kind of nice, and it's kind of a nice little detail with this sort of protective shields coming out of the car.
We have to remember, this is before After Effects and all that.
Yeah.
So they have painstakingly, frame by frame, clip art animated in this shielding. It looks great.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's really great in matching the lighting of the scene.
Yeah. Absolutely. So then we have a chase, and also we can mention in the first draft the Joker was in one of the vans, I think, joining the fun, but he's nowhere to be seen in this particular chase. But they do get cornered, and then we see Batman using the grappling gun. He's forced to let go, and then we have in the first draft they actually take off his mask, like full on. The cowl comes down, so he does the coming fight he does with unmasked, basically.
Yeah, which is kind of interesting, but then again, you have brought up as the plot point by Knox that it's very rare to find an actual photograph of Bruce Wayne in that universe.
Yes.
Which plays into the whole unmasking scene, because the goons aren't really sure who the hell is this guy.
Then we have a fight scene, and Tim Burton has gotten criticisms for because he can't shoot action. So what's your take on this? Because this is essentially the first hand-to-hand fight scene we get in the movie.
Well, I do think the choreography does a lot of the heavy lifting. And it kind of feels refreshing actually to see a static shot of action going.
Yeah.
Compared to these days when you just edit around it.
Yeah.
As Jack Chan pointed out, the more they edit, the less the actual actor can fight.
Yeah.
So actually, you see a choreographed scene, and I kind of was on this rewatch impressed by how they managed to choreograph around the stiffness of the batsuit. I do believe that some people had some modifications where the movement would cover if you could see, oh, it's not connected here, it's not connected there, compared to a dramatic scene with Michael Keaton where you have the full plastered suit.
Yeah.
So I'm not that bothered by it. It actually looks decent enough.
Yeah, I think so too. And as you said, you can tell what's going on for the most part.
Modern action movies can sometimes lack the clarity of an action scene. So it's kind of fresh to see one that just plays out.
Yeah.
And there also is a nice Raiders of the Lost Ark moment where the guy with the more advanced moves starts showing off and Batman just kicks him to the face.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's also in the behind the scenes book, because Bob the Goon just runs off, but in the book there are actually pictures of the fight happening. I don't know if these are maybe just promo stills or if they actually was a fight between Batman and Bob, but there isn't one in the screenplay in either one of them, I believe.
I think it's just the general production stills. I think one of those bubblegum cards with Bob the Goon would be that picture.
Yeah, I think you're right. That could be that's a good theory, actually. Absolutely.
Speaking of Bob the Goon, it's kind of funny. He's not in the script, actually.
No, you're
as
right.
Such. And he's kind of a character who just exploded in popularity out of nowhere. Yeah, he stands about a bit more than just the usual henchman.
Yeah.
Simply because they have some sort of relation.
Yeah, absolutely. So in the first draft, the screenplay, there's actually two rolls of film, because Vicky takes one roll where Batman is fighting, and then she hides that in a bra, and then she puts another roll of film in the camera, and that's the one he eventually takes. But anyhow, so they reunite, and then they drive off to the Batcave, of course. And I believe there is a couple of shots on actual roads where we do see the Batmobile sort of going full throttle.
Yeah. And you mentioned those film roles. That's what I like about Sam Hamm's script, because she gets to keep the one with Batman's face.
Yeah.
And up to this point, she and Knox have started to suspect that Bruce is Batman.
Yeah.
And Batman doesn't know about one hidden in her bosoms. So she decides herself to get rid of it.
Yeah, and I thought that was a really nice character moment, actually. They arrive at the Batcave, really nice music here as well, with epic choirs and everything. And he actually has, in the screenplay, a sort of he can develop the photographs. He has some sort of automated machine where he puts the roll of film, and then he gets blow-ups straight away, and he actually signs one of them. For Vicky, he asks, "Do you want an autograph?" And then he signs one of the pictures.
Yeah, he has that little tongue-in-cheek character as Batman.
Batman has done an analysis of the toxins, and we get to find out it only works in certain combinations. he puts her to sleep using some sort of toxin, and then she wakes up in her apartment again.
That sleep gas got a lot of usage from in the Sam Ham script.
Yeah, yes, you're right, because he puts her to sleep before they drive to the Batcave, actually.
And then in the Batcave, you want to do it yourself this time?
So we have a couple of short scenes. The news anchors tells the people you should avoid. That's also something I've noticed, always bugged me, because when he says, the news anchor says, avoid the following combinations, but it's only like 2 or 3 combinations. He says avoid.
Yeah.
It
does feel like they cut off before too soon. They're too late. I mean, if they cut off sooner, we'll get the feeling that there's a long list.
Yeah.
But now it's like it's a bit like the ending scene of the Monty Python's "Is the Meaning of Life." Oh, we forgot the meaning of life.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, or from a storytelling standpoint, you understand why, because they can't have the 10 minutes of the movie talking about combinations. But I just always sort of found it kind of funny that it was just I think it mentions 3 products or something, deodorant and lipstick and baby powder or something like that. And it's like, okay, so you're fine if you're not using. I don't know. I always thought it was kind of funny. So Bruce arrives in Vicky's apartment. Well, in the first draft, she already kind of knows.
Yeah, she knows. This is him accepting that she knows and is ready to talk it out in that scene. Whereas here is more of a confession scene. And the purpose of these scenes split here from the draft of Sam Ham and the final draft of Scarron, because the first draft is to set up Robin in an action scene that follows, while this one is to set up the connection between Jack Napier and the murder of the Waynes.
Yeah.
We can discuss the Robin part a bit later, I think, because what I want to discuss is how this scene works. Not so much that he realizes that line, it's more let's get nuts part.
Mm-hmm.
That I feel is odd, because the scene is good up to that point, because you see him having trouble to explain it all, which comes back to what we talked about earlier about Bruce Wayne not being sure how to be Bruce Wayne. He knows how to be Batman, but doesn't know to be Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
When they're interrupted by Joker arriving, and he decides to... You do get the logic of it all, him putting the tray under, but how he's acting throughout the scene always feels a bit off to me. How do you feel about him losing temper and trying to coax the Joker into shooting him?
Yeah, it's an interesting scene. We also find out that Alicia has killed herself, of course. Threw herself out the window, and so Vicky and the Joker talk, and then Bruce shows up, and it's I do get what you're saying, that particular beat feels slightly off, and I also noticed that Vicky, for whatever reason, is eating popcorn in the background. I just found that was a kind of a funny detail. She grabs a bowl of popcorn from her mantelpiece, and then you see her sort of eating the popcorn like she's some sort of audience member or something.
Yeah, it feels like some kind of old comfort eating in the middle of it all.
Now, if you look at, Bruce knows that he needs to somehow find some sort of solution, and in the first draft, he actually has his utility belt inside his suit, and which is one that catches the bullet. But I think the reason he does what he does is he hopes that he will get shot, and that maybe somehow will resolve things, because they are sort of at the standoff. There's no way out of this, because I would assume that he thinks that their plan is to kidnap Vicky. So it depends on. I think he is trying to find a way out of there somehow.
Yeah, but why does he need to confront the Joker and get shot like that? Couldn't the same result happen? Because she's gonna get kidnapped, him dead or not. So why not remain hidden and follow them?
That could work as
which
well.
is sort of what it does. Which is sort of what it does in the Sam Ham script to follow the Joker. But
yeah,
here it's much more. I'm just going out here, risk getting killed.
Yeah,
and then I run off.
Yeah. No, you're right. I get why they've done it from a storytelling perspective, because you do need the protagonist and the antagonist to share a scene, and the only scene that really shared before this is at Axis Chemicals. So this is really their only. Well, they do have a conversation later in the cathedral, but. So I do understand why, and I sort of like the dialogue. I knew this guy, Jack, mean kid, hurt people. I do like those lines, but it's...
those lines are fine. It's him trying to get into his head. It's just that random outburst. I could get him trying to talk his way out of it and all that, but that rage part always sticks out like, what was the point?
Yeah.
Whoa. But here we get that famous line. Have you ever danced with the devil by the pale moonlight?
Yes. Yeah. Which will come into play a little later in one of the more controversial aspects of the movie.
But to rewind and talk about what the original draft did.
Yeah.
And here Batman is much more capable. Alicia is the one that tips him off that Joker's coming. He does some recon and effectively scares off the Joker without being Batman. And decides to follow him, which in the script goes, he, as you point out, just has the utility belt, which makes him survive. And we get a chase scene on horse where Alfred joins them and hands over the batsuit in a laundry bag. Yeah. For those curious, this whole sequence is part of the special features on the Blu-ray and DVD, so you can check it out yourself, which would be lead to the introduction of Robin.
Yes.
Into the whole idea.
Yeah.
And I've only seen the scene on the features, but when I read the script, it does feel a bit more natural to bring Robin in the story in the way that he do. How did you feel about reading about Robin in the script?
No, I think it worked. It's sort of it's a funny part of the movie because it sort of goes off in. Well, I guess you can say it had 3 different roads to travel. In the finished film, the Joker just leaves her alone. It's like, okay, bye for now. And we don't really understand why. If he wanted to kidnap her, she's right there. But there's also, in the book, and I believe in the final screenplay, there was a chase scene because the Joker did kidnap Vicky Vale. And then there was a chase, sort of like in the first draft of the screenplay. So... he puts on his ski mask, he meets up with Alfred, puts on the suit, and then he confronts the Joker in a park where they have an unveiling of a statue, and he saves Vicky. And that scene is sort of a reworking of the sequence in the first draft, where he chases the Joker. They arrive at the park. They also gonna, I believe, unveil a statue, and the Flying Graysons are doing a sort of trapeze act with the 2 helicopters. So Mom and Pa is hanging from one helicopter each, and then the Joker lights like a box of fireworks on fire. So the fireworks go up into the helicopters, and the Dick's parents, fall to their deaths. In
the Sam Ham script, all that happens, and Bruce takes him in.
Yes.
And he wakes up the Wayne Manor. He tries to keep him from chasing after the Joker, which is an idea to reuse for Batman Forever with Two-Face murdering Dick Grayson's parents in that one.
Yeah.
So he has a more active role than I expected. I just thought it would be that cameo and that end scene in the end. Oh, he's taking him into train. But no, he actually plays a bigger part in the whole third act.
Yeah. It's interesting how when you look at the first draft, how certain aspects has then been taken and placed in subsequent films. Like, Dick Grayson's parents dying, and he gets obsessed, in Batman Forever with going after Two-Face. And here, he gets sort of obsessed with going after the Joker. So they have taken sort of the same storyline, they just adopted it into 2 movies later. But no, I do agree that and for the longest time, Robin was supposed to be part of this movie, but eventually he wasn't. And but it's probably the part where the film really diverges from what was written in the first draft.
Yeah, here's where the big differences really comes in. Especially since they abandoned the whole Knox, Vicky, Bruce romance triangle. That gives a lot of room for the ending to be rewritten, and all the parts shuffle around a bit. You do still get from the first draft the balloons and all that, but how they work, how they're set up, it's totally different in the final film.
Oh yeah, for sure. So we have a quick scene in Gotham Globe where Alexander Knox has done research on the street corner, and we find out that his Bruce's parents were murdered in that street corner. I don't know if this is common knowledge in Gotham that his parents were murdered, but no one really knew for sure which parts of the city, because Vicky and Knox seems really surprised when they find out about this.
Well, Vicky is an outsider, so she probably wouldn't know the details. Knox, we don't really get an idea of how long he's been, a reporter, but we can easily deduce that, going by Michael Keaton's age, that he looks about 38, 40 in the movie. So it's been a lot, like 30 years, so the details can be forgotten, what street and what that. So for someone Knox's age, he's probably like 38 as well, 40 thereabouts. So as a kid, you don't tend to remember things like that, I think.
Yeah.
So I can excuse them not knowing all the details.
Yeah. So now we come actually to my little favorite scene in the movie, actually, and it's not grand, and funnily enough, I think this scene could have been taken out of the movie and people wouldn't really have noticed. It's just this little character moment between Bruce and Alfred. Bruce asks Alfred, do you have the file on my parents? And it's on the desk, sir. And Bruce asks Alfred, like what's on your mind? Alfred is sort of like, I have no wish to spend my last few years grieving the loss of old friends or their sons. And I always just love that line, and it's delivered so perfectly, and it sort of sums up their entire relationship in this movie. Like, he doesn't really want Bruce to do this Batman thing. I always thought it was such a wonderful little scene, but again, in the grand scheme of things, it's not that important. But no, it is my favorite part.
Yeah, it's brilliant. It's like I pointed out earlier that Alfred doesn't really accept that Bruce shows him path. He wants him to have that normal life. And it's one of those few things that is actually a knock between the four original movies. That Alfred gets more and more accepting to see that the Batman persona doesn't necessarily have to be toxic for Bruce. He goes down the darker path here, and in Batman Returns, but Batman Forever introduces some hope into the role of Batman. And by Batman and Robin, he has fully accepted that Bruce is Batman, and Batman isn't in such a dark place anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's a wonderful little scene. And then we cut to the mayor is having a press conference that they have postponed the celebrations of the anniversary, but the Joker hijacks the press conference and tells the citizens of Gotham that he's gonna at midnight he's gonna dump $20 million in cash on the people of Gotham. And what I find funny about this scene is that no one really, they cut to different parts of Gotham, like bars and construction sites, but no one really cares. Like someone that the Joker shows up and talking about that Carl Grissom is dead. It's only when he mentions the money that people really react. And I think that's kind of funny. Like, yeah, whatever. The Gotham is going to be Gotham. Oh, wait, are we going to get money? Oh, we have to listen to this.
Yeah, they're so easily forgiving for some guy who essentially tried to murder them all just a few days earlier.
You would think that would maybe set off some alarm bells, that the Joker tried to poison the entire city and now he's gonna just dump 20 million. And no, nothing suspicious here.
Live and forget. Forgive and forget.
Yeah, absolutely. They have a short memory in Gotham. So now we come to, we cut to Bruce. He's in the Batcave and he's watching the Joker broadcast. And he does a freeze frame on the computer and then he opens up the file. And then we come to the flashback where we see his parents get killed, which is a really beautifully shot scene and a bit slow-mo, probably shot maybe 36 frames per second or something like that. Echoey sounds. I think it's just really maybe the best, because we've seen this scene in a couple of different sort of shapes during the years, but I think this is the best one.
We're so used to that whole scene, but it's played a bit of a mystery throughout the movie. And if you look at it in the context of 1989, people weren't that familiar with his origin. Of course, comic books fans have been treated Batman Year One previously. You do get a flashback to it in there, but for the general audience, it's been 50 years since that first issue that described it all. So you needed that reintroduction because Adam West never touched that with a 10-foot pole because too dark for the campy series. Yeah. So it needs to be told, and told very effectively, but there was one controversial part of it all. People didn't like that it was the Joker that did it.
For the fans, the two most controversial aspects of the movie sort of converge in a single minute. Because Batman, he remembers his parents getting killed. A young Jack Napier steps out of the shadows. Tell me, kid, have you ever danced with the devil by the pale moonlight? And then Bruce looks up, and the guy, by the way, who plays the young Jack Napier, some people have said that he would make a great Joker. He sort of looks almost like the Mark Hamill Joker.
Yeah, a bit.
Yeah.
I'm actually gonna defend the choice to have Joker be the murderer of Batman's parents, because I don't think in the end it does really change anything. It does for their journey through the movie, but it doesn't really affect what made Bruce become Batman, because he did all this training, got this motivation to stop criminals, to create a world where no 8-year-old has to lose their parents. All that he did not knowing that Jack Napier was the murderer. Ned didn't know who the murderer was for all that time, so it doesn't really change his motivation.
Yeah,
it just feels like Scaran in his shooter draft thought, well, it kind of rhymes to have them create each other.
Yeah.
Which I think is the part people think is controversial, but I do think that it doesn't really play into the motivation of becoming Batman at all.
Yeah, no, totally. I always accepted it. I actually, when I watched the movie for the first time, I didn't know that, the real assailant was named Joe Chill. I knew that Bruce's parents were murdered, but I didn't know all the lore. So for me personally, I never really thought much about it, but it sort of made sense to me. And it's sort of like, I don't know if this is a myth, but from what I've heard was that Adam West was asked if he wanted to play Bruce's father, but he declined. I don't know if that ever happened, but it's one of those stories that has been going about ever since '89.
It's the first time I've heard about it, but it does remind me of a episode of Batman the Animated Series, where they do homage to Adam West's turn as Batman, because he plays an actor who used to play a character called the Grey Ghost, which is in a series similar to the Adam West show, from what I remember, that young Bruce used to watch with his dad. So it's sort of an homage episode because he solves the crime of the episode together with the Grey Ghost actor and gets to fanboy a little about him. Telling me, you were such an inspiration to me. You showed me what it means to be a hero and all that. So I think you're the one who wrote your story, or the rumor you heard about kind of might have mixed up that episode with the Batman movie.
Yeah, probably. And I think I've seen an interview with Adam West where he was asked about this and denied it ever happened. But he wouldn't have done it anyway because he wanted people to remember him as Batman and not as Thomas Wayne. But anyhow, Bruce wakes up from the flashback, sees the screen, realizes the Joker killed his parents, and then Vicky Vale, or rather Alfred, leads Vicky Vale into the Batcave, which is of course the second time she is in the Batcave, but the difference is that now Batman, Bruce is not in the Batsuit. So this was very controversial also at the time. So what's your take on this?
Yeah, I can understand why, because especially compared to the Sam Hamm draft, where he points out quite profoundly he didn't let Vicky Vale into Batcave because it takes away urgency from the relationship from Bruce. It needs to be Bruce's decision, I believe, to open up about this. It is in line in character for Alfred, it is, but it's kind of anticlimactic because it's taken out of both characters' hands. Interesting.
Yeah, it never... I sort of kind of liked the scene. I don't know, that's probably a hot thing as well, because for me it's like she's really, it's sort of a symbol for her really entering his mind. And there is a line to the effect of, she asks, why won't you let me in? And he says, you got in. And he was going to tell her anyway in the apartment, but he never got around to it. So I felt like maybe Alfred did sort of the final push. I do like the dialogue. I know some people have sort of criticized that they fall in love a bit too fast. But still, it is a movie, and it's not the first time we've seen something like that where people meet, pretty quickly fall in love, and then, you know, things happen. But for me, it's always been... And there's a shot in the movie where Vicky turns towards the camera and Bruce is right behind her, and then you have the Joker on the TV right behind them. That's a really nicely framed shot. She says something, I don't know if we're gonna try to love each other, and he says... I like to try, but he's out there right now and I gotta go to work.
Yeah, I think having read the Sam Hamm script, knowing what we could have, has tainted my view on that scene.
Yeah, for sure.
Because he does handle their romance quite a bit better. As you pointed out, the final movie is a bit of a more Disney romance. You have yourself spoken about the movie feeling a bit fairy tale-ish.
Yes.
So... yeah, I kind of feel that script has tainted a bit of my experience with that scene. It didn't bother me as much before because I always had that interesting feeling about movies. If there's something that is going to be released that I'm about part of the build-up to, I criticize those kind of choices a lot more compared to a movie that's been out for 10, 20 years before I was born, because then it's, okay, that's the next part of it.
Yeah.
To give an example, Quantum of Solace is a weak Bond film, A View to a Kill is a weak Bond film, but I can accept A View to a Kill because I wasn't part of the hype.
Yes.
While Quantum of Solace, I criticized because I fell into the Casino Royale hype.
Yeah.
And got disappointed. So, in that regard, if it's something I feel was a bit of a mistake in an older movie, I can accept it because... I wasn't part of the build-up where I can accept, okay, this is how we did it back then.
So Batman suits up, and now we come to... and this is a weird one for me. Maybe a bit of a Mandela effect. And we have talked about this earlier as well. Because I do tend to... I'm sort of scatterbrained, but I do tend to remember movies quite well. And I just swear that I saw somewhere in the... prelude, in the hype, in the trailers, when the hype started to build, I remember distinctly that I saw a longer version of this suit up scene. It could have been maybe in a featurette or something, or in maybe a trailer. I just remember when I saw the movie that I was like, wow, what happened to the suit up scene? That's way too short. I don't know if I have imagined this or if I mix it up with the suit up scene in Batman Returns, which is slightly longer. I just could swear that I have seen a version of this scene, not in the finished film, but in some of one of the making ofs or something, where we see him put on more stuff before he sort of turns up and looks up at the light.
Or you're having PTSD flashbacks to the gratuitous suit-up scenes from the Joel Schumacher movies.
Yeah, it could be. Maybe, but it's weird because I just remember as a kid when I saw that suit-up scene, and I was always so surprised that was that it? Or maybe because suit up scenes or loading all the guns was really popular in the 80s with Arnold in Commando. You see him suit up, and that was a sort of a trope of the 80s, the getting ready scene, getting ready for the big action scene, loading all the guns, putting on all the clothes, putting on the makeup. So maybe I'm just having it mixed up with something else, but if someone maybe in the comment section can give some clues on this, I would be grateful, because I've always wondered if I've just imagined that.
Yeah, it could also be that as kids we are exceptionally good at filling in the blanks with our fantasies. We don't get to see this, but we know our pair that this and this. Oh, he probably puts on 50 of these batarangs, a remote controlled one, a super long grappling hook, or something.
So that's the end of the second video, but stay tuned for next week when we will discuss the third act of the movie. So thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.